What is an Afro Latino? What does Afro Latino mean? Afro Latin refers to people from Latin American countries with African ancestry in both Latin America and the United States. This population is usually coded as being black.
I guess a lot of people get confused with the term what an Afro Latino is. It just means that I'm black, but I'm Latina. You ready?
Are Afro Latinos a double minority? We know they like to classify blacks as minorities. They also like to classify Latinos as minorities. So is being Afro Latino a double minority? According to Latina.com, a study says Latins and blacks are more afraid of white Americans than foreign terrorists. Why are blacks and Latinos still the majority in prisons?
If you look at our jails, it's predominantly minorities. If you look at where crime takes place, it's in minority neighborhoods.
A recent study from Prison Policy Initiative says of the people who are not arrested during a police stop, the portion who experience a use of force from police, and in this particular study, it shows that Latinos are actually being stopped in higher numbers. Is there a history of Spanish hate or Latino hate in this country? Throughout the United States, there's always historically been a hate towards the Spanish and or Mexicans. Identifying as Afro-Latino would have made you a double target. How about Afro-Latinos that identify as Native American? More Latinos identify as Native American, census shows. So a census study, I believe from 2010, shows that more and more Latinos are identifying as Native American.
They focus on, quote unquote, the three races. And some people are asking, well, why are we focusing on one and not the other?
Where is the media representation for those that identify as Afro-Latino? Where is the representation on that? We know there is a BET, Black Entertainment Television, Telemundo. But as you can see, there's always been a pattern of misrepresentation of the entire Latino community. Where is the Afro-Latino Network? And big shout out to this sister right here, Amara La Negra. She's been on a lot of platforms. She's been speaking up on a lot of these issues regarding the Afro-Latino community.
When you tell a Latino that you are black, sometimes the confusion comes in when usually you know that black is African American, Caucasian is white, and everything else, you're Latino. So you're like, no, I'm not black, I'm Latino. But it's stupid to have to explain my color because you can see it.
Is Afro-Latino an American term? We know we are combining cultures when we say Afro-Latino. We know to this day in southern Spain, there still to this day is a good mix of different ethnicities, dark-skinned Spaniards.
I live in Madrid. I was shocked to see so many black and brown people.
But I don't think they would consider themselves as Afro-Latino. We know there is a population in West Coast Africa, in Guinea, that speak Spanish. Why aren't they known as Afro-Latino? So if the term Afro-Latino originated in the Americas, if it's in a term that can identify a specific demographic of people, why isn't it on the census? Why isn't it a choice for those who identify as Afro-Latino? And we know historically, there hasn't been or ever been a category for Afro-Latino. But if this term was never used historically, are Afro-Latinos part of American history? Let's get a clear indication of what an American is. In the 1828 Webster Dictionary's definition of American states, American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races, found here by the European, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. The name American must always exalt the pride of patriotism. And as you can clearly see, it says it was originally applied to the Aboriginals, who were copper colored. For right now, we are focusing on the Afro Latinos and how the Afro Latinos would apply to this definition of American. During the time this definition was made in 1828, were there Afro Latinos, or what would be someone or some people considered as Afro Latino in 1828? In 1828, when the term American was created, were there any Afro Latinos in America? Let's see. Around this time in Florida, a huge population of people who call themselves the Seminoles were still occupying most of this land here in Florida. As a matter of fact, they were in the midst of many wars between them and the United States to get access to that land. This is known as the Seminole Wars. At this particular time, the Seminoles were still in Florida. Spanish Florida was occupied mainly of a population that comprised of Native Americans and Spanish-speaking Negroes. So I guess you would classify it as Afro-Latinos. Were there any other Afro-Latinos in America at this particular time, 1828? Texas, early 1800s, all throughout the 1800s and into the 1900s, you had this phenomenon known as the Black Cowboys. And a good portion of this population in Texas at this time, 1828, comprised of what you will call today as Afro-Latinos. 1831, California is founded by this gentleman right here named Pio Pico. Pio Pico had Native American, Mexican, African American lineage. Brown man, dark-skinned man who spoke Spanish. By today's standards, you would classify him as a Afro-Latino. What is the state of Mexico at this time? 1828, when the term American is created. What's going on with Mexico? First, quote-unquote, black president of Mexico, Vincent Guerrero, he was of Mexican, Native American, and African descent. He was what you will call a mulatto man who spoke Spanish and got along with the natives. Was the president of the time an Afro-Latino? At the same time, with the word American is being created, occupying and president of half the land they're calling America.